why don't you take me through the tribes info here? What makes Luxidoor different? What makes them special? What is it about Luxidoor that could potentially give them an edge against other tribes? And in terms of their versatility against other Luxidoor players?
Well, in a mirror match, it's not really so much about, it's going to be very, very equal. Obviously, we've seen this before, but a lot of it really comes down to starting technology, and movement. So, if you remove spawn and only consider the player choices, because you can't do anything about spawn, but if you take a look at what the players can actually do, it's movement in terms of direction, and it's also what technology they go for first. Obviously, we've seen the opener very consistent across most of these games. I think apart from Bossman last game, who didn't go for the 2-tech opener, he went for only organization, held off on fishing and hunting. But this is the thing, really, when it comes to Luxidoor in a mirror match. It's really about those two options. Now, if you take a look at how Luxidoor stacks up against other players, well, now it's a little bit different, right? And it really depends on the tribe that you're playing. But Luxidoor does start with an upgraded capital, which makes their giant come out a lot faster. So the question then becomes, if they're able to capitalize on the fact that they're getting an earlier giant than all of the other players, right? So I think that is going to be the big difference when we're going to see these players face off against, when we see Luxidoor face off against other tribes.
Well, to get there, we need to crown a Luxidoor champion. Is it going to be Arthur? Is it going to be Meisterlampe? Again, the reigning, defending Polytopia champion, or the current Luxidoor champion? Let's see how they match up in terms of starts.
All right. Arthur here, moving towards the water. Looking like both players spawning very close to the lighthouses here. Oh wow, I'm so excited for this game, and I'm just like, whoa, So okay, Meisterlampe, what's going on here? Similar opener, three warrior opener. Both of these players are currently scouting what kind of technology am I going to go for first. Arthur decides to move further down and delay his village capture by a turn here, seemingly because he realizes that there is a possibility that we're spawning close to each other. So he wants to focus on expansion here, and I think this is, one of the things that makes a Luxidoor player play well. It's how fast they're able to expand. And you can see him moving down here towards the south. And he's going to be meeting Meisterlampe very soon. This is going to be one of these games where we're probably going to have very fast combat with each other. So it's not going to be a philosophy game like we had with Arthur in that first game. And yeah, decides to go for fishing here. He realized that in that second village that he captured, there wasn't that much that he could go for in terms of organization, because he only had one fruit in that city. But decides to meet him here, because there is most likely going to be a village in that fog of war right there. So instead of moving up and securing that, he decides to go down to get the meat stars here, mostly because he probably wants to go for some tech. And he does. He goes for riding roads.
One thing I do want to point out is that both of these players will also constantly look at the score. If they hit tab, then the score will be flashing up and they can monitor what their opponent's doing. Both these players are skilled enough to generally know exactly what their opponent is taking, if they're taking techs, if they've been doing any sort of advancements, by mashing that tab button and by noting the score. It is permanent. Watching both of these players in Stockholm live in their warm-up games off camera was an exercise in epilepsy warning, because they would just mash the tab button so much and constantly monitor the scores.
And that's the thing that really separates the pros, right? I think that was one of the things that I commented on, I believe 2 weeks ago when I was casting. Yes. It was what Arthur said on a stream, right? Where he had a note, he had a piece of pen and paper, and he was literally turn by turn writing down the points that his opponent had every single turn while the game was going on. And this is a level of, when you do that repeatedly, you're building in patterns in your mind. You're building in a level of knowledge that, okay, if my opponent has X amount of points, that means this. That most likely means this. That most, So you're 100% right when you're saying these players are checking the score. And, like looking at this map here, like both of these players now currently at 3 cities. And it's looking like, obviously Meisterlampe hunting fishing went for the early giant here on turn 5, as opposed to Arthur, who decided to go for riding roads, which is interesting. He's most likely looking at trying to pressure that northern, or that village sexy that Meisterlampe has here. Spawn-wise, I would say it's looking a little bit hard for Arthur to freely expand without technology here. He needs to go for climbing, or he needs to go for fishing here in order to expand any further here. So he's very isolated, whereas Meisterlampe is looking like he can move freely towards the northeast here. So I actually favor Meisterlampe's spawn a lot better just because of that. Because it, again, makes it a lot cheaper for him to expand. Now, when it comes to that northern village there, this is the point where, look at Meisterlampe as well. Like, he's also playing incredibly aggressive. He's seeing that village there, and he's like, I do not want to give that to Arthur. So he's going for riders, to try and prevent Arthur from acquiring that village. So with that rider, I think he's going to be able to hold off, because look at the difference in terms of resources at this stage. It's 7 to 12, 5 stars per turn more. Arthur is quite a distance away from getting, he's at least 2 turns away from getting a giant here. And with the fact that Meisterlampe already has his giant, and he's in a better position to expand, I'm favoring Meisterlampe for this game after turn 6-7. So
many is possible.
Turn 7 now. So I'm definitely favoring Meisterlampe at this stage of the game. Simply due to the fact that he does have that lead in stars, economy, that early giant, and better expansion opportunities here. Because he's going to go in now, he's going to be able to make sure that he prevents the siege. And, Arthur is going to do the same. He's going to be able to throw a rider and a warrior in there. But for every single turn that goes by, that giant is slowly creeping in. And it's looking like he wants to send the giant to Exium, which would actually be a very interesting play, because what Meisterlampe is effectively doing here is he's forcing Arthur to make a choice. He can't defend both, especially not with his current stars. He's slowly coming back here. He got the the connect, and I think that is very good by him. That is very good. The fact that he was able to roads in there, take out that unit, which is now gonna prevent Meisterlampe unless he goes for roads. He has to go for roads here if he wants to prevent that. He could send the rider in with roads.
He's thinking a lot longer than I associate with Meisterlampe. He's making a pivotal decision here. Which way is he going to go?
He is.
Which way, Meisterlampe? Which way?
Because, I mean, he's got options here. He can either, move towards forestry, but then again, a little bit awkward in terms of mathematics positioning, sawmill positioning, that is. I think his best play here really is to try and go aggressive here. So, yeah, it goes for the roads.
There we go. I'd love to hear you pronounce that new village name, by the way.
Oh, Luisny.
Perfect. Well, you're right. He does look to prevent Arthur from taking that village. Again, 4 cities to 3. The longer you can maintain that advantage, the better. Again, it's only 3 stars per turn, but over 3 turns, 9 stars, and roll on and on and on. And it's these early stars that are, of course, the most pivotal. So the more he can do to hamper Arthur's growth, the more it will pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah. And look at that swordsman, which is, you know, a little far away now, but it's gonna slowly come in to the fight as well. I mean, it's very nice that it's not one of these swordsmen that spawn halfway across the map.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
The first blood goes to Meisterlampe as Arthur takes a tumble. There we go. Resignation. What do you think of that? I think, frankly, it's warranted. I think it was an untenable sort of situation. Meisterlampe took his time, didn't make any rash moves, decided, you know what, I can maintain the momentum. Because again, how often have we seen these kinds of early pushes that stall out and put the player who initiates them in a worse position? But please take me through what you think of that game.
Well, yeah, well, for sure. I think the opening move by Arthur there to go for the riding roads, he was obviously gambling that he was going to be able to somehow siege one of his villages very fast, right? To do a rider roads play there, fast access, maybe get a lucky siege. But Meisterlampe protected and defended very well. But he also got that early giant, which made a big difference. And let's not forget about spawn, right? So Arthur, again, like I mentioned earlier, was denied expansion. He needed technology to expand. He either needed to go for fishing or he needed to go for mount climbing. But even if he went for climbing, 1 tile per turn, and then, you know, who knows how long it would have taken him to discover another village, I don't think it would have made a big difference. So this game was always leading towards Meisterlampe after turn 6, after turn 7. And I really think that, when you look at the playing style of Arthur here, I think he played with what he could.
I agree.
He saw that he was limited, and he saw that this is the path. But then towards the end, when that village got unsieged, he saw the giant, and he saw the points. He had 1,800 points compared to Meisterlampe's 3,000 plus points. He's like, this is not looking...
I am far behind. It is untenable. Now, it's worth mentioning that Meisterlampe was actually one of the ones tipped to go all the way and potentially win the entire tournament, but was stopped very early by Slimming Boy. There's been some discussion about what would have happened in a final between Meisterlampe and Arthur, because that was what was anticipated before Slimming Boy came in and derailed that thought process. So, interestingly, looking beyond, because I personally have no doubt that we will see both of these individuals in the finals in Stockholm. That's just my immediate call. Obviously, one of them is going at least to the tribal showdown. It's an interesting sort of look at an alternate universe. Obviously, Arthur would have had Imperius, and it's not quite 1-to-1. But what a fascinating start. Now, can Arthur claw one back and take it to game 3? Will Meisterlampe perfect a perfect record and take the Luxidoor, defend the Luxidoor chiefdom title with a perfect score? I think, frankly, my gut feeling is that he will. Let's see if I'm right.
Well, the reigning Meisterlampe, champion is definitely, the favorite here. And taking a look at this opening game, again, a little bit unlucky, if I'm being honest, for Arthur here. Look at that spawn. Like he can't freely move, onto the north there. Still has good access to land, so looking like it's okay. Meisterlampe has access to 4 villages here. Goes for fishing, which is very nice because he's now going to be able to get those port connections. I could say the same for Arthur here, so I'm probably seeing fishing as well. There we go, hunting, fishing. Because both players now have some really good port connections, which is going to help with their upgrades on the villages and on the capital there. Goes for an explorer to kind of see if he can, first of all, find Arthur, but also gets the lighthouse and Arthur here, which is really good for Meisterlampe. And this is good information for him, because now he knows that he can freely move that little warrior down to that village. Arthur is probably going to move further down as well to capture that village as well. So he's going to have a nice little village there, but that's probably going to be a very contested one. Arthur also gets the Meisterlampe also gets the other lighthouse there up north, which is very good. Probably goes for an explorer of himself here, yeah. And it gets to the lighthouse and is most likely now going to discover Meisterlampe. There he is. He gets the meat stars. And the question here, does he go for another explorer or does he go for stars? I think he would go for an explorer here because Arthur does like information. He does like vision. And he does. Is going to try and maybe see if he can get the lighthouse. And, oh, that mountain just blocked it. Oh, that's unlucky. So it's not over, though. He's still probably able to get it if he sends another explorer on that village all the way to the south. But yeah, Meisterlampe again gets his giant up on turn 5. Which is, consistent from what we've seen last game as well. And this is looking like it's a, very solid opener. Hasn't placed any ports yet. Decided to go for that early giant to get the additional stars from the Arc of Fortune plus level up on Kyopo. And I mean, it's currently 1-2-0, right? For Meisterlampe, so Arthur needs to come back here. But yeah, Arthur gets his own giant on turn 5. So both players now, turn 5 giants. And this is, again, the really the benefit of playing Luxidoor against other tribes is that you're going to have that early giant. And if that early giant is used efficiently, it can be very scary for an opposing player who's playing a different tribe. Let's see what he does here. I mean, he's got a couple of options. I would say he's still in expansion mode, so he's probably going to want to move towards those cities all the way in the north there. There are 4 villages just sitting there uncontested. And from the looks of this, Meisterlampe is going to get there first.
You think?
I think so. I mean, consider that Arthur, he's still, all the way on the south there. He's got one raft. He's probably going to find another village right behind that fog of war, in between those mountains there. So it's going to give him a nice little village there, but it's looking like Meisterlampe will probably be ahead by 1 village, maybe 2. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that other village that is right next to Ois that he just landed on is also right next to the water. So he's going to get another nice port connection there. A little bit unlucky that his that there is a little bit of 3 tiles of land blocking that village from the ocean. Otherwise, he could have gotten another port connection there, which would have been absolutely huge for Meisterlampe. But yeah, look at this. So Arthur now, I predict that he is not going to place his closest warrior onto that village. He's instead going to try and move further north. Because he sees that Meisterlampe is currently expanding on the north. And he knows that if he wants to win this, he's going to have to contest a lot of these villages.
Go on, give me your percentage then. Turn 8.
Oh, turn 8? Let's see here. I would say 4 to 5 at this stage. Finds him there, sees him, okay. Oh, this is close, man. This is close. I'm going to say 50-50. I know you don't like it, but...
yeah, interesting. I was going to invert that.
It's very close.
Say 50-50, but I agree with you. It is incredibly close. I think the next sort of 4 or 5 turns are going to decide it. It is, in my opinion, based on those northern villages. Let's see what they can do there. I mean, they both have giants in the water. Now juggernauts.
They do. They do have their juggernauts here live. And, I think what Arthur is going to want to do here is he wants to make sure that he can at least go for that northern village there. Although he cannot see it, Maybe he will after a nice little explorer next turn. We're gonna see that, but it's, you know, it's a little bit different here from, you know, from previous game, where now in the first game it was very restricted, right? Especially for Arthur, his movement. Here you have a lot more to work with, and you know, both players very similar points, very similar stars. Meisterlampe slightly ahead at this stage, but he is going to be locking down the northernmost village. He is going to be locking down that other village there. And yeah, see, so Arthur decides to go up there because he knows that he needs to contest. So he does find that village, which is good, and goes for organization here to get another giant in his capital here. And that's going to really help with defense, right? Because that giant that Meisterlampe has could go both directions. It could either be used to, you know, really push towards one of his cities in the middle there, in the center, or it could be used to apply a lot of pressure up north, which he did. He decides to apply pressure and attack that giant there, or that juggernaut on the ocean. The only thing that is a little bit unfortunate for Meisterlampe here is that Nixie city doesn't get any port connections. So yeah, he's not going to be able to get that. He's going to have to need roads, or he's going to have to siege that center village that is bordering Kyopu, or Kyopo. Kyopu. There we go.
Yeah, what does the hat mean? Ooh. I think it's an ooh. Kyopo. This casting is just descended into us making random vowel noises.
I feel like a caveman trying to pronounce these names. Kyopo.
Kyopo dangerous.
Yeah,
big giant turn up. Oh,
Kyopo. Yeah. But this is looking good for Arthur nonetheless. Like he gets that village there. That's gonna really help him out here.
I agree.
You know, so I think from this spot, I think he's feeling a lot more safe now that he's looking, you know, close in on that village. Gets the other giant here, yeah. And
that is these villages are a lot more. I mean, you said it a couple of weeks ago that your cities being closer to each other does make them easier to defend. It means that your units are already consolidated right from the start. Anytime that you're bringing in new guys from the front, well, they're right there. So maybe that could be the edge in an otherwise even game. Meisterlampe gonna have to be bringing in troops from afar and having to consolidate them in a way that Arthur doesn't necessarily have to do. Obviously, with the northern villages, that might change. Plus, I do think that Meisterlampe has a better grasp of the northern edge of the continent. You can't really argue with the closeness. What would you call that? The concentration of Arthur's cities in comparison to Meisterlampe's. At least in my opinion.
No, you're right. I think that you know, both players obviously have a spread across villages. You know, bordering the north, the south, you know, the west, the east. You know, really, they're all on both sides. The difference here really is that the bulk of both of their forces are in the center, and that's really where, you know, there is that level of water access. If you look at the map as a whole, there is one stretch in the middle that is just pure lakes. And, you know, one or the other, the player is most likely going to penetrate that. Whoever does that, whoever controls that center, is going to be in a much better position than the other. Now, then again, if you also take a look at the giants that Arthur has right now, lined up, he can definitely launch a little bit of a attack. Highly unlikely though. He can if he will, but it's going to serve as a defense and as a potential attack. But both of these players, you know, I'm a lot more excited about this game compared to last game, and the reasoning is because there are so many things and so many angles that, you know, war can happen in here. So the fact that there is a huge stretch of land up north, and south, it's more ocean, you know, it's more water. So it's, you know, it's going to be a very, I think this is going to be a very high warfare game. It's not going to be a slow game. There's going to be a lot of fighting going on, just again because of the fact that they're so close to each other. And also, you know, I'm kind of trying to scout the biome in Arthur's villages as well as Meisterlampe. Meisterlampe has slightly better sawmills positioning. So, you know, he could place a beautiful sawmill in between Ussis and Kyopu. And he can also place a 3-star sawmill in his capital, another 3 population sawmill in Ois. You know, so he's got really good sawmill spots versus Arthur that, you know, he has a couple of good spots up north, but if you take a look down south, he doesn't have that many, well, equally as good sawmill spots. So I'll have to double check in terms of his farms. I think he had some decent farm spots because he did, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you can see that Arthur is really, really consolidating his troops on the water here. He's got a lot of rafts ready to turn into scouts, potentially rammers as well. You know, 29 stars for Meisterlampe, 24 per turn for Arthur here. He could move into to ramming.
I think neither one of these players is willing to cede water control, right? So I think neither one of them, in my opinion at least, neither one of them is sort of willing to commit to a full assault, if that makes sense. But they're almost being forced into it bit by bit because of the proximity of the other one. Neither one of them, like, they know what threat that poses, and so they're just sort of almost ramping up this challenge bit by bit, turn after turn. Now we see an explorer, and that gives Arthur a little bit more information about the goings on in the north and in Meisterlampe's territories up there.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, man. Like, if you look at the water axis, if one or the other player gets a more dominating position in the water, that player will have a big advantage. Very simple. It's, you know, but then again, I look at Meisterlampe. He's got Gaxi, he's got Whis, he's got Ussini, and Us is really isolated in terms of water there. I mean, he could probably go for a bomber in the corner there that might do some damage late game, as well as Nixie. But it's really that center there that is going to be dangerous. And if we take a look at Arthur's side, at least when it comes to water access, he's got the south village there. 1, 2, 3 villages, 4 villages with water access. So very even in terms of units that they can position on the water that all have access to the center of the map, where the bulk of the fighting is going to happen here. Now,
in the center of the map, that does, in my opinion, it favors Arthur right now.
Well, he
the
does
two juggernauts
have
in the middle with the scouts behind.
He does have a little bit more juice, a little bit more power at this moment. I'm curious if Arthur is going to go for a siege here, simply so that he can create some splash damage onto that scout and that juggernaut, and then try and kill the 30 HP. Or is that a 40 HP still? That is a 40, right? How much health is that juggernaut? That's 40, correct? Yeah, it is.
Yes.
You just place it. Yeah, so that's 40 HP. So it might be a little bit too big to take down. But
no, I don't think you can take it down instantly. But oh well, that does change them.
Archery here, yeah. So he's gonna use archery to defend any potential sieges from happening here. Now, I would be surprised, you know, to see Arthur going in for a siege here, even though he would, you know, deny a couple of stars. I don't think it's too wise. And the reasoning being, he's going to lose that giant. So the question is, does he want to lose it and then take something out with it? Or, okay, he's going to try and go for the scout in the back? Or is he going to pop the giant? That's the question here. Goes for ramming, there we go. So he's going to try and kill those giants, huh?
I think so. Like I said, I think he has the advantage here, and I think that Meisterlampe needs to start. I don't know. I don't see. Wow, that's good. I don't see how he can contain this naval push from Arthur, and I'm not sure where he goes from here, because he won't be able to get significant forces on the water.
Yeah. Now this is really well played by Arthur here, deciding to pressure here. I honestly did not immediately see the potential of his attack when I made my comments just now, but seeing it in hindsight, very well played by Arthur. Meisterlampe can still defend that village, you know, he can still unsiege, but then you're still dealing with all of these units that he has. A giant still, he's got 3 scouts, 2 rafts on standby, 2 rammers. These are all going to apply a lot of pressure here. So Meisterlampe is now considering, how do I play this from here? He's making calculations, he's making decisions. He has to go for the unsiege here.
Of course.
And he can't do a Houdini. Nope. He doesn't have the resources or the space. He's going to go ahead and siege, and he's probably unsieging with... Oh, look at that. That's actually very well played. Unsieging with that, sending his Juggernaut.
That's a lot of splash damage.
Center. Yeah.
That's a lot of splash damage. I stand corrected. I stand very corrected. My apologies, Meisterlampe. I was unfamiliar with your game. You are very able to contest this naval push.
Yeah, that was very good for Meisterlampe here, getting all of that splash damage in there. Weakening rammer, scout, killing 1, plus the Juggernaut there. Great play by Meisterlampe. And I think, you know, that's what you want to do. You want to see if you can make, you know, valuable trades. I mean, Arthur's got 6 kills, Meisterlampe's got 3, so it's not that big of a difference, but, you know, Meisterlampe has, what is it, 19 units to 12, and he's applying pressure. He's leading in points. He's got a little bit more stars to work with here. I think Arthur he really needs a siege. He's gonna go ahead and take out. Is he gonna go for a siege, or is it? No, he can't. He has to choose here. He has to go for the giant here, and he needs to send his rammer back.
There it is.
To heal. There we go. It sends it back. Goes for navigation.
Okay.
So...
Nice. Great cast in there. We were one mind.
Yeah. Will he bomb? That's the question. I mean, he's got some good, decent setups for bombers. Like, you know, that one raft there. You go for a nice little... I'd probably also chop a forest here just so I could place another warrior to... so I could put that in the water as well. Okay. I don't know. He's 13 stars, my bad. I was looking at the stars of Meisterlampe. Yeah, goes ahead, plays some units there so he can position those into the water for next turn. Goes for climbing, okay.
He is pushing forward still. Again, I just want to point out the difference in kills between Arthur and Meisterlampe. And when it is so close, I do start to think that is where the difference is. But Meisterlampe is starting to close down those differences and does, of course, have an extra city. Will that be enough? I mean, I do see that Arthur has a lot of those warriors kind of just milling about in the north. We'll have to see what you can do with that. Meisterlampe, of course, using these archers in a very effective manner to... Can he get rid of that Juggernaut? I don't know if he can this turn. Which kind of sucks, because that's going to be a lot of slash damage when he just sort of comes forward.
Well,
I don't... What do you think? Have your percentages changed?
Well, I mean, I'm favoring Meisterlampe here.
Okay.
I am. I think, you know... again, can't deny any of these players' skill. Like, I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning the current layout of the map, and you know, Meisterlampe has the village advantage. Arthur's Juggernaut is dead. You know, we knew this is going to be a very high intense fighting game. This is not going to be a dragged out game, simply due to the fact that there was going to be a lot of proximity in the middle there, and you know, fighting for the water. And yeah, I mean, if you take a look at what Arthur did here, he decided that, you know, that giant is going to die anyway. I might as well go for you know, because he saw he had the starfishes, so he decides to, you know, position his units accordingly so that he was able to get the 16 stars this turn. So, you know, 26 stars still, and was able to take out the immediate threat of the archers that were sitting there. So I'd probably put this as 55 Meisterlampe, 45 Arthur, because I'm not at all, you know, looking at, like, look at the southern city there. So Arthur has a bomber now in Isus. He's got 2 rafts on the water. He's got 19 stars to work with here. He's got tons of resources.
A very well protected bomber, to be clear, as well.
Very well protected indeed. Goes for the you know, another giant here. That's his 3rd giant, if I'm not mistaken. 3rd or
I think
3rd?
so, yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to be launching an attack, and he's most likely long term. He's going to be able to siege Nixie unless Meisterlampe can you know, have a big defense there. But if you look at the positioning here of those villages, the fact that he has navigation here allows Arthur to build a couple of bombers and really take out any threat that Meisterlampe could potentially counter with in Nixie. So, and I think that if Arthur is able to siege that city, it's going to give him a huge edge. Really, due to the fact that he's now going to be very close to accessing these other villages that Meisterlampe has. But that is that's really what is interesting about this game, because there are so many angles that warfare is happening on right now. You have, you know, the north, you have the south, you have the center of the map. You see that no area of the map is currently protected. Like, all of them are in proximity to warfare. It's not like you have an isolated village that no one wants. Every single village matters, because as soon as you capture a village in the north or the south, that is going to be a huge lead for the opposing you know,
So
player.
that's an interesting little position now down south. Rama followed by Wrath. Like you say, every village matters.
He does. Meisterlampe knows this. He definitely knows this, and
I think he's going to find more success trying to pick off the outskirts instead of sending more resources into that central path. Perhaps he knows that that bomber is going to cause havoc for anything in the area. Instead, he thinks, well, I'll just contest the areas around it.
Absolutely. And it puts Arthur in a little bit of a tricky position here, because now he needs to make a choice. Is he going to deal with all those archers? You know, so he could hit the bomber on the warrior. Oh, he does.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Fine.
So he decides to hit that, and then upgrades towards a rammer. Very, very smart. So he's making sure that if Meisterlampe goes for his own rammer, it's not going to be able to take him out immediately.
Well, it's that consolidation of troops as well. I mean, Meisterlampe has 25 units to Arthur's 14.
Yeah.
But they are generally, in my opinion, scattered. A lot of them are, of course, archers, more designed to hold them off than otherwise. Do you think that Meisterlampe is potentially playing for a longer game, thinking he can outlast and sort of out-advance Arthur?
Well, I think that you know, Meisterlampe is setting himself up to launch an attack on the north. Like, you know, why keep producing archers in the back there if you're not planning to advance? And, you know, if you look at the current, you know, placement of units on the map here, Arthur doesn't really have a lot of protection now in the north, right? He's got 2 very weak scouts. Those scouts are not going to do much. As soon as, you know, if Meisterlampe wants, he could send one of these scouts in, pop that 3 HP scout. You know, so they're very exposed. It's the south that I think is going to be Arthur's angle in terms of an offense. And for Meisterlampe, it's going to be north, where he's going to launch his offense, which he's doing right now. And then, of course, simultaneously, both of these players, while they're launch their separate attacks on the north and the south, they're also going to have to consider defense. Because as soon as you give up a city, you're giving an advantage to your opponent. And let's not forget that Meisterlampe currently is 1 city up. So to make sure that it stays even, Arthur should not concede any more villages than Exilo in the north. And he should really focus on trying to capture Nixie in the south. I think that's his angle here.
Right, okay.
But at the same time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units on the water for Meisterlampe, just kicking back, relaxing, you know, waiting for that perfect opportunity. And I said this before in previous streams, but it's all about waiting for that opportunity and strike at the perfect time when your opponent is slightly weak, when you've got a little bit of an edge. It's all about finding those openings and taking advantage of that. And I think this is what Meisterlampe's plan is going to be. He's gonna, you know, he's not using those units to engage anyhow. And look at that bomber placement in the south here. So Arthur does decide to go for the south here, and he sets up a good wall of protection. So he protects his bomber very well.
He's setting up for a little something here. Did a little bit of chopping there. Go on, give me your percentages now. We are, let's see, just sorry, I was so engrossed in it. I think we are almost at the halfway mark. So at this halfway mark of the second game, who do you think is in a better position?
Oh, I would say it's slightly leaning towards Meisterlampe still.
Yep.
I mean, Arthur is doing very well in unit positioning here. Like, the fact that he positioned that bomber is going to prevent Meisterlampe from expanding any further south to capture Uxni, but goes for his own bomber here, which is big. You know, 7 HP bomber. I really don't think Arthur predicted that he would do that. That's actually pretty big for Meisterlampe here. And he also has a raft in the back. He's gonna go border growth, he's gonna go scout, and he's gonna hit that guy, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely
so
correct.
Very well played. And
there
Arthur resigns. And the sweep!
There it is! A sweep! A perfect record for Meisterlampe as he retains control of the Luxidoor tribe, defeating the reigning champion of the Polytopia Champions 2025.
Well played, Meisterlampe.
Absolutely.
Well played, bro.
Fantastic game.